Check it out as I make the next step of my tangled Rapunzel floating lantern purse. So here I'm assembling the interior structure. I used some cardboard pieces around and cut from cardboard and painted white, and then an oatmeal container that I cut the tops of so it would lay flat and make a kind of a base for the ring to go on top, which you'll see in just a minute. So I primed all of those white so that you wouldn't see any branding through my lantern, and then I'm just attaching the oatmeal container to the cardboard base that will act as the bottom of the lantern. So I sized the base cardboard to fit directly inside of a drum lampshade that I thrifted. So now that that's put together, I'm cutting a little hole in the side of the oatmeal container and threading some fairy lights through so that the battery pack with the button to turn them off and on is inside the oatmeal container, and then the strings of lights can go around the outside of the container. I'm wrapping the wire around, trying to space it evenly. And I did notice as I did this that the lights lined up with each other, so I was getting the effect of lines of light, which diffused through the lampshade. Wasn't a huge deal, but because of that, I did end up deciding to add a second string of lights. So once I got to the top, I just used a little dot of hot glue to secure the very end of this fairy lights to the oatmeal container. And then I can move on to adding the cardboard ring around the top of the oatmeal container. So I just used the little flaps, added some glue, and affixed that ring. So once I got it attached to it, just a couple of those tabs, I could turn it on its side, fold the tab down, put glue on, and stick it on. I use a cool glue gun, and the glue dries pretty quickly, so I didn't have the option of adding glue to every single tab and then putting the ring on, because half the glue would have been dry by the time I added the ring. So after gluing down the final tabs, I did some more glue there in my glue gun. You can see a couple of the tabs stick out a little bit. So then I just went around and trimmed off any excess of the oatmeal container tabs. Now I am planning to add some sort of a liner inside the oatmeal container going around over the top of that cardboard ring. I haven't quite figured out how I'm going to do that yet. So this is mostly building the structure of the lantern. So here I'm adding the second string of lights. I just wrapped them in a way so that the lights on the second strand would go in between the lines of lights from the first strand. So it would be a little more evenly lit. There's my little helper telling me I'm doing a good job. And with the second strand, I did a little more haphazard in the wrapping. And again, affixed the end to the oatmeal container using a little dot of hot glue. Now let me tell you a little bit about the lampshade because I didn't film this process. I thrifted a drum lampshade for $3. I took the fabric from the outside, clipped the wire structure out of one of the rings of the frame, so that I was left with two rings, and just used clear tape to tape the remaining plastic to the ring so it still kept its shape. And here I'm just taping the interior, so you can see that's the bottom. I'm taping the bottom cardboard round to the lamp structure. So now I flipped it over, and I decided to glue the two battery packs for the fairy lights together just so they wouldn't be flopping around in there. I thought about trying to affix them to the side of the oatmeal container on the inside, but I didn't want to compromise the round shape on the inside, and since those are so flat, they wouldn't sit flush against it. So I'm not doing that, but I did glue them together, so I have one little battery pack. And now I'm going to fit it into the bag that I made for the lantern, which I just used some muslin from my fabric stash, and then I used a Cricut to cut some foil iron-on in gold to make the sun motif from Rapunzel's floating lantern. So it's a little bit of a tight fit, but that's a good thing. I didn't want it to be really loose. Fit that around, and I had a piece of ribbon on my sewing desk that I used for the drawstring closure. I may change that out. We'll see. I tried to line up the seam of the lamp with the seam on the bag, but I didn't quite get it right, and in the end decided it was fine. I'm trying to move it here, but not really successfully. So now I'm going to close up the top and see how the lights look. We'll test it out. So you can see the difference in light with just the one strand of lights on and the two. There you go. A floating lantern. Next up, we need to add some trim around the top and bottom edge and a strap.